Namaskar, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, students and scholars, teachers and trainers, professors, professionals, the most honorable President Mr. Modi ji, respected ministers and managers, honorable doctors and directors, advocates, advertisers, administrators, advisors, listeners, learners, all my dear friends, I heartily, cordially welcome. It is really nice time, nice place, nice action. Today we are recollecting our all holy religions of this holy land, the form of unity diversity. Let us know the truth of science to spirituality, language to literature. Religion is an almost universal phenomena with a vast majority of humankind, over 98%, following one religion or another. What started as practices to propitiate forces of nature, such as rain and thunder, these forces were later given manifestations in the name of gods. As superhumans and fictitious tales, rituals, and doctrines developed around them, which form the basis of most religions. While religions in their original and pure form are noble, simple, and intend well for humanity, complications developed by some religious scholars and authorities on those religions have made them perplexing and mysterious. Information contained in here is meant to provide a basic and clearer understanding on all the different major religions so that the reader can develop appreciation and respect for all the religions in the world. This understanding, appreciation, and respect among people for all different religions is the fundamentals, precursors to creating an environment conducive to lasting world peace. Most importantly, the religion of gods, an innovative concept, Camp 21, detailed in the last chapter, is an attempt to demolish any feeling of compartmentalization, alienation, and even hatred among followers of different religions, and to create the much needed feelings of oneness, that is, unity of all religions. A common addendum to each one of the existing world religions, objectives of the 21st century crusade are: one is to develop mutual respect among people for all religions and their followers through dissemination of primary knowledge on all major religions. Two is win public opinion worldwide for acceptance and introduction of Camp 21 as an addendum of all existing religions so as to give rise to the much needed feeling of oneness of humanity and unity of religions, and C is to make the world a better place to live through world peace achieved in via A and B, and leave a better world behind for posterity. The 21 precepts forming Camp 21 include the eternally valid precepts contained commonly in most religions. Some precepts related to the 21st century and some related to the growing need for protection of the environment. The objective of this crusade is to see tomorrow's world as peaceful and environmentally upgraded so that when we face God, we are able to raise our heads in reverence and note down in shame for all the irresponsible behavior which is being displayed by the humankind presently. A reader friendly presentation of the contents here has been made in an executive style, whereby details pertaining to each issue are positioned in dedicated passages, avoiding the possibility of reader having to flip the pages constantly to fish for specific information of direct interest to her or him, and the text has been written in simple English without resorting a high sounding words with a view that it should make easy reading even for a reader with a workable vocabulary. Spellings are based on pronunciation and or daily usage by general readers. For example, Krishna, a Hindu god, is spelled Krishna and not Christian. Namaz, prayer in Islam, is spelled as namaz and not namaz. Later spellings for words are not well appreciated. Although technically correct as per phonetists, those versed well in the conventionally accepted system of spelling. No claims are made about correctness of the contents, which are based on methodological, historical, or otherwise available information and are meant for a brief introduction to readers. In case scholarly information is desired on any specific subject, other scholarly texts may also be studied. Although much of the contents of this are intended to be positive, some parts may not be in line with the thinking of some people who are advised to ignore those parts. Better still, they may provide constructive feedback which may be considered and suitably incorporated in the next edition. Consulting scholars' wholehearted support in editing the chapters dedicated to specific religions is highly gratifying. Views expressed in other chapters are authors' own views. Feedback from readers is welcome through email to authors at alok11@hotmail.com. Now let us know what is religion. Religion is an almost universal phenomenon with complex metaphysical issues. Doctrines, beliefs, mythology, and rituals woven into the fabric of different civilizations in a variety of patterns. It is an effort to distill such complexities of different religions so as to provide a simpler overview, particularly from the point of view of today's youth, and in an easily understandable format. In sections as follows: one is religion and overview, discusses features of religion, its definition, evolution, and so on, and the related metaphysical issues. Two is current religions, has dedicated chapters for each one of the world's major religions or faiths. Letter from God gives humankind an idea of how they have gone astray from the path intended for them by God and hints at righteous path humankind ought to follow. For is an innovative concept, religion of God as Camp 21, a 21st century crusade to ensure the development of a feeling of oneness of the human race and unity of all world religions. As we all know, all world religions aim at peace of mind and making us better human beings by way of tolerance and compassion towards all beings, animate as well as inanimate. However, the ground reality for centuries has been about inter and intra-religion intolerance and antagonizing. It is an attempt to create a new and positive environment to the submission of a thesis on an innovative concept. Stein Camp 21, as described in the last chapter, offerings an open invitation to progressive thinkers, both in religion as well as social fields, to join this 21st century crusade. Their support will provide a fillip to achieving the feeling of oneness of humanity and unity of world religions and lasting world peace. Other issues discussed in this are about some major metaphysical questions that remain till today unanswered by science, but claimed to be answered by different religions. It is essentially of that readers will find the contents invigorating and the proactive thinkers and unity of world religions and ultimately ensuring lasting world peace and an environmentally upgraded world. Religion and overdue. Religion is the most important aspect and a defining identity of a vast majority of people in this world. The word religion is derived from the Latin word religio, which can be translated both as bond, means between human beings and God, and obligation toward worship of God by human beings. What is the definition of religion? Religion can be defined as humankind's assumption of a certain superhuman controlling can be defined as humankind's assumption of certain superhuman controlling power, attitude, and conduct towards self, fellow human beings, and the environment, and all this typical system of community faith and worship of that power. Although there are several definitions of religion as forwarded by scholars from time to time, and some interesting ones are: one is the feeling of complete dependence on God, who is a belief in spiritual beings. Three is the propitiation on conciliation of power superior to humans. Four is human recognition of superhuman controlling power, and especially of a personal god or goddesses, god or gods, entitled to obedience and worship, and effect of such recognition and conduct or mental attitude. Today, all world religions are really a mishmash of varying philosophies, sometimes even contradicting ones. Major elements of religion. Religion mainly consists of mythology, rituals, and doctrines. Mythology, collection of fictitious and primitive tales involving supernatural characters embodying popular ideas pertaining to historical or natural phenomena as prevailing in a particular geographical region. Mythologically also gives an idea of divinity, which has an overpowering effect on one's psyche in relation to religious ideas and shared convictions amongst one's society. What is rituals? performance of acts associated with religion, such as worship and sacrifices to gods, observance of gods in matters of ablution, ceremonial, self-cleaning, dress, eating, and so on. Rituals have been an intrinsic reaction to events that were significant in the lives of our ancestors. For instance, sacrificial rituals originated on the basis of hope that the supernatural powers will be pleased to shower blessings. They were also a way to thank God for all the bounty the human beings had been blessed with. What are doctrines? Meaning a body of religious beliefs or instructions that came up on the basis of direct personal experiences of prophets or seers and are often philosophies forming the basis of ethical behavior among humans as formalized and guided by religious institutions reinforcing the concept of God. Found in every religion, doctrines resulted from beliefs and experiences of people who aimed at preserving and conveying their experiences and beliefs to the faithful. What is the purpose of religion? In a broad sense, religion helps provide guide to good conduct towards self and the society, and is aimed at achieving blessedness and eternal peace. However, in reality, most humans engage themselves with trivial issues such as emotional bondages and material things. Eventually, they end up chasing mirages and only intermittently taking refuge in religion and or God by way of prayers and rituals. The objective of an individual to follow a particular religion can be any or all of the following: a hope of getting wiser, wiser about the mystery of creation, the concept of God about birth and death, and understanding of the causes of suffering and ways for its alleviation and other metaphysical issues. Seeking solace, emotional sustenance, and mental security. The sense of belonging to the community of one's religion and a sense of social security derived from the same. A hope of an improved life in the near future and beyond for that of the community at large, usually for material gains, better interpersonal relationships, a better rebirth for the soul. In case of those who believe in rebirth, religion typically talks about God having created the world and other religions or religious truths that societies share under the influence of institutions. Most religions affirm that God revealed truths to the founders of those religions. These truths form the basis of religions. However, in certain religions, such as those of the East, such truths or doctrines were devised by the founders themselves. Generally speaking, the purpose of religion is to work as an appearance within the society and to work towards reinforcing moral rules therein, and above all, to instill a conscience within individuals. At the root of much of this philosophy is one concept, stressed in many religions, and that is about the eternity of soul and its need to regain its original purity through the realization of God by way of doing good deeds. The metaphysical issues on which people raise questions and seek answers from religions are: one is, where do we come from? Where do we come from? Nobody knows. Although several theories, knowledge which is not concrete exists on an immaterial part of living entities called soul, which is believed to be eternal and keeps moving in and out of those entities, making them alive at the time of conception or making them dead. Two is, what is the purpose of life? No specific purpose, reason, or objective is known about the phenomenon called life, which, according to science, is a happening in the process of evolution. Each individual life is a small and insignificant player in the process of creation and procreation, a process which itself is a small part of the whole gamut of the vast and mysterious nature and the cosmos. However, there is a theory about deeds or karma in Hinduism that attempts to make some sense in systematizing the randomness about birth and to give a sense of purpose to life. According to this theory, the deeds a person performs determine the body her or his soul would inherit based on what she or he deserves to fulfill pending tasks of previous life. But this is a metaphysical issue and can be discussed separately. However, there certainly exist views on how to live life. This word lead should not be confused with the word purpose. Religion was originally aimed at and continues to do so, imparting instructions and teachings on how to live a righteous and fulfilling life, having unwillingly come into being. Although several religions came up in different parts of the world among different races, each religion came up with the same common sense issues on righteousness, which are typically about compassion and kindness towards fellow humans and other living beings, not to hurt them physically or emotionally, not to steal, to be tolerant and forgiving, to be respectful towards parents and elders, and such activities that are logically classified as good, who is the superpower controlling all existence. Here again, nobody knows for sure, but several theories exist that are not scientifically proven. While some religions like Buddhism are agnostic, most religions theorize about a superpower by the name God, who controls all existence, communicating with them by the believers is a monologue done through prayers or singing of hymns, expressing reverence, or expressing desire for fulfillment of one's needs. Next question is, what happens to our identity or entity after death? Are we reborn? Scientifically unproven mystery exists around this phenomena too. This mystery is claimed to be explained by most religions with explanations which followers of those religions believe to be fully true. God's existence. There are three possible answers to the question of God's existence. One is He exists. This will be conclusively proved only when in some near future He emerges from His mysterious existence. Two is He does not exist. Difficult to prove a negative statement like this. His mystery about him will continue to haunt humankind and will continue to remain a mystery. A highly probable scenario. Some religions talk of soul as the immaterial part of all living beings, which goes to heaven or hell, depending upon lifetime deeds, good or bad, of the person. Some religions propagate the theory that the soul is reincarnated into a new living being. As such, people find religion available to provide answer in some way to these metaphysical issues, while science has offered no answers until now. Evolution of religion. Humankind is understood to have evolved on this planet some 4 million years ago, and some crude ritualistic practices which could be associated with the notion of religion may have started as clearly as Paleolithic or the Neolithic times. The semblance of religion can only be said to have appeared for the first time in history around 8000 BC, when men started to grow crops and realized the dependence on forces and rhythms of nature. This realization developed mankind's relationship with the earth and the forces of nature. Because of this dependence, early humans started to fear these and made attempts to propitiate these forces and elements that included the sun, the rains, lightning, wild animals, trees, and so on. Related phenomena that were feared to cause impediments were therefore worshipped by offering sacrifices of animals. In due course, all these natural phenomena and elements were personified as gods. Discoveries of buried humans, starting from the Neanderthal men of 100,000 years ago, to Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic periods, indicate some semblance of early beliefs such as those about the dead, awakening up from sleep, or fear of the dead. Pertaining to such beliefs, related rituals evolved. To such primitive beliefs and rituals might have been added the belief about the life cycle, perhaps based on human observation of the cycles of vegetation. When buried seeds would spring back to life, one of the earliest and clearest indication of belief in life cycle can be seen in the ancient 2500 BC Egyptian tale of Osiris mentioned in the pyramid text and incorporated in rituals for the dead pharaohs. Osiris got a divine status and rituals were woven around all this, which resulted in the rise of what can be called a primitive religion, connected with the mystery of death and life beyond death, along with the practices of propitiating natural forces. Such rituals gave rise to shamanism to help to achieving success under hostile conditions of nature or in primitive acts such as hunting. Shamanism later gave rise to the phenomenon of holy priests who were the link or the medium between God and humans. Characteristics such as holiness and unholiness were termed mana and taboo. As times progressed, humans started to develop finer social systems. Inventions of agricultural tools and improved agricultural practices brought prosperity. Communes got strengthened, which resulted in the development of community practices towards worshipping those natural forces which they still feared. In due course, specific places got evolved for such rituals to be performed by ritual masters who passed on their art from generation to generation orally. This trend existed all over in different habitations, whether it was the Indus Valley or the Arabian Peninsula or elsewhere, maybe with some time differences in the phase of their development. Such development can generally be said to be the basis of religion in different geographical regions inhabited by early humankind, particularly the Indus Valley, Babylonian, and its better known district of Sumer and so on. Sumer and on. The Indus Valley civilization, known to archaeologists as the Harappa culture, began in the 3rd millennium BC and prospered for a few centuries as a theocracy similar to those of Babylonian, Egypt, and so on. Early inhabitants of the Indus Valley civilization worshipped Mother Goddess apart from sacrifices and animals. This religion, which must have remained dormant with the natives who deserted their urban settlements in the face of foreign aggressions from the western frontiers, reappeared with that of the plebeian religion of the Aryans to ultimately develop into Brahmanism or Hinduism. For details, it was around the middle of the first millennium BC that almost simultaneously some great religious prophets or philosophers appeared in different parts of the world and gave rise to distinct religions exclusively in Asia, which later spread to the rest of the world. Elements of religion in practice, certain concepts and practices form the backbone of all religions. There are concepts of God and the creation, scriptures, concept of life after death, and so on. and practices such as prayers, rituals, sacraments, and so on. Let us deal with some of these concepts of God. The concept of God is a matter of belief and can be defined as an individual assumption of a super human being or force who has control over nature and human fortunes. The reason for this force or being to be worshipped by believers. This being or the force called God is invisible, unfathomable. Thank you for watching. Continue, please. This being is this being or the force called God is invisible, unfathomable, has no eyewitnesses, and remains a mystery till today. Although theories about his existence are beyond scientifically accepted norms, an overwhelming majority of humankind believed in the existence of God as understood and interpreted in different religions. Different beliefs and doctrines on the concept of God are grouped as follows. One is theism, belief in the existence of God or goddess as creator and supreme ruler of universe. Two is pantheism, God is everything and everything is God. Three is monotheism, doctrine asserting that there is only one God. Four is henotheism, belief in one God without asserting that he is the only God. Polytheism, belief in many gods. Agnosticism, holding the view that nothing is known or likely to be known about the existence of God. Atheism, what is atheism? This belief in the existence of God. And last is nihilism, that is total rejection of current beliefs in religion. That is nihilism. However, according to the scientific community, there exists a rather vast dark matter or energy beyond the realm of time and space, which causes the formation of galaxies or worlds governed under a certain rhythm. This vast energy has been Yurad Kaushik. Nice to listen. Nice to read your message. Thank you for remembering. It could be said that typically for personal gain and in spirit of greed, humankind took the liberty of inventing in him small powers too and then expected to benefit from the powers from these powers for small time worldly activities such as personal gain at the smallest level as well as destiny in general. Believers presumed and continue to presume that God's unseen hand is always there for favorable intervention in their lives, daily activities, and therefore he must be kept adequately propitiated. On the flip side, atheists question that if there is the merciful and benign God, is he callous or powerless when innocent people are killed in natural or man-made disasters? In a presumptuous situation about God, where facts had been missing, mythology took over and evolved itself through unwritten codes into what became religion. Later, codification of religion served a dual purpose, In addition to providing a philosophical interpretation and understanding of the several complex phenomena, it also provided a guide to humankind about good social conduct, a prerequisite to a sustainable and cohesive society, governed by conventions as codified in the religions they follow. Although a majority of religions in the world believe in the existence of God, wait for interruption, please. Although a majority of religions in the world believe in the existence of God and have given different epithets and or names to him, all agree on common attributes like creator, provider, ruler, destroyer, omnipresent, present everywhere, omniscient, infinitely knowledgeable, omnipotent, infinitely powerful, and so on. He is just and merciful. He is just and merciful to the righteous, but wrecks the unrighteousness. The infidel and the disbeliever with his anger. However, portrayal of God has always remained a complex and conflicting issue. In some religions like Islam, God's portrayal itself is regarded with revulsion, since these believers feel that the divine cannot be depicted in any limited physical form. Other religions consider the portrayal of helpful for the convenience of expressing God's attributes and facilitating comprehension and communion with Him. However, it must be clarified here that when examined scientifically, the whole concept of God and the attributes even invented for Him have no evidence to support these theories propounded in different religions, but on the question of who created the universe and the life on it. Science also remains unanswerable, accepting a not very exact explanation in the name of evolution. As such, this issue is best left as a matter of faith. Although no one has proven the existence or non-existence of God, a safer gamble would be to assume that he exists. A typically compromising answer can be seen in the suggestion of Blaise Pascal, a 17th century French philosopher, that to know if God exists or not, toss or coin. Are prayers always answered? According to hardcore believers, prayers are answered. Prayers are always answered. God's answers to any specific request contained in the prayer could be yes, no, or not yet. Whatever happens or does not happen after prayer, it will always match one of the above three answers, and the believer would say that her or his prayer has been answered. Advantage got. An interesting study was recently made by a British physicist, Dr. Stephen Unwin, basing his studies on a total of 200 year old probability formula called Bayes' theorem. Dr. Stephen weighted the existence of evil in the world against good. The effects of prayer to God, righteousness, altruism, and so on. The induced that there is a 66% chance that God exists, as against the 34% chance that he does not exist. It is interesting to note that even the not so theoretic scientist societies believe in the existence of God. The case in point is the US, where the currency bears the motto "In God We Trust." In the final analysis, it is best to leave the question of God's existence unanswered and leave it to the judgment and faith of individuals and treat it as a matter of personal doing, personal domain. However, it must be clarified that believing in God or denying his existence does not make a person good or bad. Non-believers can be more saintly and righteous, and although believers may feel close to God, but since God is invisible and physically incommunicado, all religions evolved interpreters called priest. Prayer and talking to God. Prayer can be defined as a solemn request to God by an individual for grant of material or spiritual gains, as against worship, which is a display of reverence or execution of rituals. Prayer is associated with a direct expression of deep personal feelings towards the divine. Such feelings typically being about a desire for fulfillment of personal needs or a removal of worrying factors in personal life or about grant of courage. In case those worrying factors can't be removed under God's plan, that is, when one feels helpless. Prayer is thus an urge to reach divinity with the hope that the prayer will be answered. Reasons for prayer. There are prayers of thanks for good things that have happened to an individual in the past as well as for the bounty of nature's beauty. For instance, when we see a rainbow, we thank God for providing that beauty to us to behold. Then there are prayers for forgiveness when one does some wrong expressing regrets. Prayers can be at four levels in order of diminishing degree of virtuousness. One is reverence or awe. Two is thanks for whatever is already given by him. What is rosary? Rosary is a string of beads in a closed loop. Practice of telling or fingering of a rosary while praying is understood to have originated in India during the Vedic era 2500 to 600 BC as a device to help keep track of the numerous hymns during recitation by the praying sagas and the devout. Rosary is popularly used by followers of different religions as briefly described here. Hinduism or Hindus generally use a Rudraksh rosary made of 108 beads, 108 being a number considered auspicious as it relates to the 27 constellations in the zodiac, each constellation being made of 4 phases. Thus 27 into 4 is equal to 108, signifying coverage of the entire universe, meaning greatness. Second is Muslims use rosary for counting attributes of Allah or God, generally consisting of 165 beads. Three Buddhists use it with beads Buddhists use it with beads representing different desires which must be overcome to reach a state of pure blessedness called nirvana. Next is Christian. Christian were introduced to a rosary to Saint Dominic in the 30th century AD, based on a divine devolution. Use of rosary was later contradicted by Protestants, according to whom it was on idolatry, although currently it is favored even among some Protestants as it is understood to help structure one's devotional efforts. Episcopalians, those belonging to Church of Bishops, are credited with the development of a 33 bead Anglican rosary. Next, number 3 is prayer for small wants, and 4 is prayer for miracles or extraordinary. People generally pray to God in order to get free gifts instead of earning things for themselves through personal hard work. General understanding of prayer is thus more about free gifts, miracles, and for the extraordinary, which leaves people generally disillusioned and grievously unhappy. How widespread is the phenomena of prayer and why do people pray? According to sociological professor Rodney Stark of Baylor University, USA, prayer is one of the most common and unacknowledgeable activities on this planet. Prayers are offered by almost every human being, whether a commoner, so septic as well as believer, a saint or a scoundrel, rich or poor, old or young, in every era, culture and religion. Players pray on the field for a win in spite of the clear knowledge that one must win and one must lose. Students pray to pass their exams. Soldiers pray to win battles. And traders pray for profits. Even decors pray for success in their sinful exploits. In schools world over, teaching classes are preceded by a morning prayer. Worldwide, there are several established religious orders claiming to specialize in spiritual healing prayers for disease and such as cancer, although it is known that contribution of their efforts is limited only to creating an awareness among the suffering that they are being supported through prayers. It is only such awareness which contributes to healing if at all. So it does work. It is good and considered as positively answered prayer. And if it does not, people concerned forget about it. It is interesting to note that pseudo-scientific research on the effect of prayers has become quite popular. According to one school of thought, everyone has a right to pray, asking God for something as a child of God, and in turn, God the Father is duty bound or love bound to grant the same. What is the origin of prayer? The phenomenon of prayer has existed since primordial times, much before Moses, Buddha, Jesus, or Muhammad arrived. Starting with awe towards natural phenomena such as rain of lightning, primitive humans invoked their unknown gods for protection against nature's furies and for support in hunting or later for successful crops, most probably out of instinctive presumption of divinity. They also worshipped presumed ghosts, demons, and spirits of the dead because they felt that in some unknown way these beings were more powerful than themselves and must be propitiated through prayer to prevent harm to them or to seek to win their favors. On methodological level, God answered prayers of the devout on several occasions by way of incarnations to save the faithful. Hindu mythology is full of such tales. Most interesting being that of Prahalad, a devotee of Lord Vishnu, whom he prayed to save him from the murderous plans of his father, and he was saved. Jesus observed the custom of praying at the temple at the time of his baptism and in the Gethsemane garden around the time of his crucifixion. However, earliest historical records of the phenomena of prayers are found in the 5th millennium BC Sumerian inscriptions. Thank you for providing your valuable time. Thanks, brothers and sisters, those who are listening, watching YouTube channel 3M Creator. I time and again thank all of you. Now let us listen Srimad Bhagavad Gita in three languages. It contains three languages: Sanskrit, Hindi, and English. Om Shri Paramatmane Namah. अथ चतुर्दशो अध्याय श्री भक्ष्यामि ज्ञानानां ज्ञानमुत्तमम् यं ज्ञात्वा मुनयः सर्वे परां सिद्धितो गता। श्री भगवान बोले, ज्ञानों में भी अति उत्तम उस परम ज्ञान को मैं फिर कहूंगा जिसको जानकर सब मुनिजन इस संसार से मुक्त होकर परम सिद्धि को प्राप्त हो गए हैं। श्री भगवान said, I shall expound once more the supreme knowledge, the best of all knowledge, acquiring which all sagas have attained highest perfection, being liberated from this mundane existence. Idam janupashite nam sandrvayante palena yatanti chu। इस ज्ञान को आश्रय करके अर्थात धारण करके मेरे स्वरूप को प्राप्त हुए पुरुष सृष्टि के आदि में पुनः उत्पन्न नहीं होते और प्रलय काल में भी व्याकुल नहीं होते। Those who by practicing this knowledge have entered into my being are not born again at the cosmic dawn, nor feel disturbed even during the cosmic dissolution. Mam yoni mahad brahma तस्मिन् भवदध्यामेयं संभव सर्वभूतानां ततो भक्ति भार। हे अर्जुन, मेरी महत ब्रह्म रूप मूल प्रकृति संपूर्ण भूतों की योनि है अर्थात गर्भधान का स्थान है और मैं उस योनि में चेतन समुदाय रूप गर्भ को स्थापन करता हूँ। उस जड़ चेतन के संयोग से सब भूतों की उत्पत्ति होती है। The primordial nature known as the great Brahma is the womb of all creatures. In that womb, I place the seed of all life. The creation of all beings follows from that union of matter and spirit, O Arjuna. सर्वयोनिषु कौन्तेय मूर्ति सम्भावन्ति या तासां ब्रह्मा महेश्वरीयं विष्णुपिता। हे अर्जुन, नाना प्रकार की सब योनियों में जितनी मूर्तियां अर्थात शरीरधारी प्राणी उत्पन्न होते हैं, प्रकृति तो उन सब को गर्भ धारण करने वाली माता है और मैं बीज को स्थापन करने वाला पिता हूँ। Of all embodied beings that appear in all the species of various kinds, Arjuna, Prakriti or nature is the conceiving mother, while I am the seed-giving father. Satvaham rajastom iti guna prakriti sambhava निबध्वन्ति महाबाहो देहि देहि मे वेयम। हे अर्जुन, सतगुण, रजोगुण और तमोगुण ये प्रकृति से उत्पन्न तीनों गुण अविनाशी जीवात्मा को शरीर में बांधते हैं। सत्वा, राजस, these three gunas born of nature tie down the imperishable soul to the body, Arjuna. Tatra sattvam nirmalatva prakasham namyam sukh saneyam badhnati jnana sarsaneyam chana। हे निष्पाप, उन तीनों गुणों में सत्वगुण जो निर्मल होने के कारण प्रकाश करने वाला और विकार रहित है, वह सुख के संबंध से और ज्ञान के संबंध से अर्थात उसके अभिमान से बांधता है। Of the sattva being immaculate is illuminating and flawless, Arjuna. It binds through attachment to happiness and knowledge. रजो रागात्मकं विधि तृष्णः सरं समुद्रभयं तनिबध्नाति कौन्तेय करं शरणेन देहिनम्। हे अर्जुन, राग रूप रजोगुण को कामना और आसक्ति से उत्पन्न जान, वह इस जीवात्मा को कर्मों के और उनके फल के संबंध से बांधता है। Arjuna, know the quality of rajas, which is the nature of passion, as one of desire and attachment. It binds the soul through attachment to actions and their fruit. Tam stau jnanjam vidhi vanam sarvadinam प्रमादाल शीद्राभिषक्नि विधनति भारत। हे अर्जुन, सब देह अभिमानियों को मोहित करने वाले तमोगुण को तो अज्ञान से उत्पन्न जान, वह इस जीवात्मा को प्रमाद, आलस्य और निद्रा के द्वारा बांधता है। And no tamas, the deluder of all those who look upon the body as their own self, as born of ignorance, it binds the soul through error, sloth, and sleep, Arjuna. Sattvam sukhe sanjayati raj karmani bhara jnanmavarte tu tam pramade sanjayatyu। हे अर्जुन, सत्व गुण सुख में लगाता है और रजोगुण कर्म में तथा तमोगुण तो ज्ञान को ढककर प्रमाद में भी लगाता है। Sattva rouse one to joy and rajas to action, while tamas, clouding wisdom, impelled one to error, sleep and sloth Arjuna. रजसत्मश्चाभिभूय सत्वं भक्तिभार रजसत्वं तमश्चैव तं सत्वं रजस्तथा तमस्तो ज्ञान तमस्तो ज्ञान जनम विधि मोहनम सर्वधिनाम परमादालस्य ही निद्रा बधानति भारत। हे अर्जुन, सब देहाभिमानियों को मोहित करने वाले तमोगुण को तो अज्ञान से उत्पन्न जान। वह इस जीवात्मा को प्रमाद, आलस्य और निद्रा के द्वारा बांधता है। And no Tamash, the deluder of all those who look upon the body as their own self, as one of ignorance, it binds the soul to error, sloth, and sleep. Arjuna. Satvam sukhe sangyati rajkarmani bharat ज्ञान आवर्त्य है तू तम प्रमादे संजय है दियु। हे अर्जुन, सत्व गुण सुख में लगाता है और रजोगुण कर्म में तथा तमोगुण तो ज्ञान को ढककर प्रमाद में भी लगाता है। सत्वा draws one to joy and others to action, while tamas, clouding wisdom, impelled one to error, sleep and sloth. Arjuna. Rajasatmascha sattvam bhakti bhara. Read for interruption. हे अर्जुन, रजोगुण और तमोगुण को दबाकर सत्वगुण और तमोगुण को दबाकर रजोगुण, वैसे ही सत्वगुण और रजोगुण को दबाकर तमोगुण होता है अर्थात बढ़ता है। ओवर पावरिंग राजास एंड तमस, अर्जुना सत्वा prevails, overpowering sattva and tamas. Rajas prevails, even so overpowering sattva and rajas, tamas prevails. Thank you, all my brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, students, scholar, teacher, trainer, professor, professionals, the most honorable present Prince Modi ji, respected ministers and managers, honorable doctor, directors, advocates, advertisers, administrators, advisors, listeners, learners, friends, thanks all of you. Thank you, thank you,